Okay, good morning and Shavua Tov. This is a great way to get the week started with Kabbalah Café. Today's topic is how to see God. How to see God in 12 easy steps. I'm kidding. No, how to see God, right? And I referenced in the email that, God tells Moses, when Moses says, Hareini na et kavodecha, show me your glory, please. God says, you can't see my glory, right? Like that famous line from the movie, which I don't remember what it was called. You can't handle the truth. This is, you can't handle my glory. What is it? Few good men, right? You can't handle my glory, says God. God says rather to Moses, I will place you in the cleft of the rock. I will pass my glory before you. I will place my hands over your eyes, and you will see my back, and you will not see my face. For no man can see my face and live. That's a paraphrase. It's more or less what God tells Moses. And the idea here is that, no, you cannot see God and live. It's not one of those things that is within the human capacity or human ability to experience. At the same time, we have the teachings of Kabbalah, the teachings of Hasidic philosophy that speak extensively about how you and I can indeed see and or perceive God. And that's what I want to speak about today. Now, if you're expecting that we're going to dim the lights and a light, an aura is going to emerge, and then we're going to say, if that was God or that is God, then I got to tell you, that's not exactly I know, Jeff, you're looking at me like I demand a refund. He takes his bagels and he moves on. All right, listen, that's not the approach we're going to take. Rather, the approach we're going to take today is as follows. I want to begin with a story, an old Hasidic story that is told of a man, a Hasidic master, whose name was Reb Zusha. Some of you may be familiar with stories and the lore and the legend of Reb Zusha. His full name, well, I don't know if it's his full name, but at least the longer version of his name is Reb Zusha of Anipoli. Now, where's Anipoli? I wouldn't know if I saw it on the map, if it wasn't labeled correctly. Where is it? Somewhere in the old country. That's what I know. It was somewhere in Eastern Europe or in Russia, somewhere over there. Anipoli was the town that he was from, or that he was a rabbi in, and his name was Zusha, and they called him Reb Zusha of Anipoli, or in short, Reb Zusha. So one time, and by the way, he was a contemporary. I know I mentioned this a few weeks ago, so just to kind of like keep this clarity going. So the founder of the Hasidic movement was the Baal Shem Tov. His primary student was Rabbi Dov Ber, known as the Maggid of Mizrich. The Maggid had a bunch of students that each kind of started their own branch of Hasidism. Amongst those students was the aforementioned Reb Zusha of Anipoli. So Reb Zusha of Anipoli, and he was a contemporary of, his brother. I got to tell a story.
Mentioned it.
I think it was a different city. Similar, but different. Anatevka, there you go. Not Anipoli. Well, listen, it's 6 and 1 after. You found it?
Because it says Manhattan, New York.
Yeah, so she's not from Manhattan. Okay, what does Google know? No, there is a Zusha that's a musician nowadays. That's another thing. But I'll tell you a story. So Reb Zusha of Anipoli had a brother. And his brother, his name was Reb Elimelech of Lizhensk, which tells me that that the of city is not where they came from, but where they ultimately settled. So you have Reb Zusha of Anipoli, Reb Elimelech of Lizhensk, and they were brothers. Listen to the story. This is a great story. One of my favorite stories of the two brothers. These guys were legit. I mean, they were the real deal. So listen to this. So one time they decided, this happened on more than one occasion, but on one such occasion, they decided to undergo a self-imposed exile or period of physical deprivation, which means, just let me clarify what that means. What that means is that they would essentially, leave their homes and wander for a little while, whether it was a few weeks or a few months or a year, I don't know, but they would wander. Why? To just let go, divest of materialism, right? Divest of creature comforts or material comforts, physical comforts, divest of all physicality, and commune with God and with God's world, and just be of the world, be of the land, be of the people, etc., and move out of their homes. And so they did. So the two brothers traveled. And, on their travels, sometimes when you're traveling in a nomadic fashion,
Mi amor, ¿cómo
right?
está ahí?
So sometimes when you travel in a nomadic fashion, you end up connecting and finding other travelers and nomads. Well, so it was that they were traveling, again, probably the Russian countryside, and they were, trying to mind their own business, but they found themselves in proximity to another group of nomadic wanderers. By the way, today, nomadic wanderers make money because they video it, they vlog, and that's it. And they would call it like My Nomadic Channel, right? Follow us on social media and YouTube and subscribe. But anyway, so they join up with another group of nomadic wanderers. And the next thing you know, the Russian police come in and they arrest the whole group. Why did they arrest the whole? Troublemakers, vagrants, troublemakers. Maybe there was a crime that was committed. Maybe the other guys were involved. They rounded up all of the folks that looked like they didn't have any place to be, and they threw them into one collective holding cell. Now, this is like Russia circa 250 years ago. You can imagine that the conditions weren't stellar. So there they are. And, at that point, this experience for them was all about letting go. And so in the context of letting go, this is kind of like letting go, right? This was not planned, but here we are. We're locked up. We didn't do anything wrong, but they figured soon the truth would come out and justice would prevail. Anyway, so it goes that the hours tick by and they notice that it is the sun is setting. And as you know, before the sun sets, what does one have to do? You got to daven mincha, the afternoon prayer. You got to do it before sunset. So if the sun's going down, you got to get on your horses and hurry up. So Rabbi Elimelech and Reb Zoshe start in their minds, right, realizing that it's time to pray the afternoon service. Now, obviously, they either, I don't know if they had a prayer book on them, but they certainly knew the prayers by heart. That wasn't a problem. And so as they were getting ready to recite the prayers, they noticed that there was a problem. And just Balash and Nikia, to speak in a clean fashion, they noticed that there was, we'll just speak nicely, a bathroom inside the actual cell. So they noticed, because it wasn't the Ritz. This was Russia. So there it was. And they realized that there's a problem, because in halakha, right? Because you can't daven mincha, you can't pray the afternoon prayer if there is in proximity to a restroom. It's not bekavadik. It's not befitting. It has to be in a clean place. You can't be around in such a place. Okay, so Rabbi Elimelech begins to cry. Why is he crying? He's crying, and he says, his brother says, "Why are you crying?" He says, "Because I haven't missed a mincha, and I don't know, maybe ever. I haven't missed a prayer, a davening mincha, praying the mincha prayer, and now I won't be able to daven. Can't get out. He's locked behind bars. Inside the actual cell is a space where he can't actually pray where he is, and so he's just heartbroken." His brother tells him, "Stop crying. Take it easy. Stop crying. The same God that told you to daven mincha, to pray the afternoon service, is the same God who told you that in this circumstance, you shouldn't. So by not praying where you are right now, that is fulfilling God's will." In other words, typically God wants you to pray. Now God, in this context, wants you to not pray. So why are you crying? God has put you in a situation. You found yourself in a situation where you are fulfilling God's will by not praying. And with that, he uplifted his brother, who was at that point despondent. He uplifted his brother, and him and his brother, listen to this. And they were so happy at the opportunity, or his brother was so happy, both at the opportunity to not pray and fulfill God's will that way, that they began dancing around the restroom area. They began dancing around that area. The Russian guards hear what's going on. Prisoners dancing, having fun, celebrating in our prison? No way. They say, they come to the cell. What's going on? Why the joy? The other guys say, I don't know, these two guys are crazy. They're dancing around this bucket in the middle of the room or on the side of the room. They say, oh, they're excited about this bucket. We're taking it out. They take it out. Zusha says to Elimelech, now we can dive. It's a powerful framing. It's powerful framing. It's a powerful concept to recognize that we so often have ideas about what it means to serve Hashem. But at the end of the day, Hashem tells us on his terms what it means to serve him. And we best be following God's lead, as it were, to understand what he wants. So that's, as an aside, to paint a bit of a picture of these two giants of yesteryear. They were leaders, they were mystics, they were great rabbis, etc. So here's a story with Reb Zusha. Reb Zusha was one time, he threw himself to the ground. No, I'm sorry. His students found him on the ground one day. And he was rolling around or moving around, and he was screaming, "Where's Zusha? Where's Zusha? Where's Zusha?" Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds a little cray-cray. And his students also thought, this is a little strange. He's there, he is on the ground, Zusha, Reb Zusha, on the ground, rolling around saying, "Where's Zusha? Where's Zusha? Where's..." Like, is everything okay? He says, one day, you will find me on the ground, and I won't be alive. And you'll say, "Where's Zusha? Where's Zusha? Where's Zusha?" That same Zusha that you'll be looking for then, I'm looking for now. Powerful idea. You hear what I said? That same Zusha that you'll be looking for then, I'm looking for that Zusha now. I feel like I should probably explain the story. So here we go. Zusha was saying one day, at some point in time, he will pass away. And when he dies, his students will cry and they'll say, "Where is our teacher? Where's our teacher?" Now, let me ask you a question. You don't see his body? It's right there. Where's Zusha? Right there. But that's not where that's not what they're going to be asking or talking about. Where's Zusha? Meaning not where the body is, but where's the real Zusha? Sounds like a reality show. Will the real Zusha please stand up? Right? Where's the real Zusha? In other words, the life, the vitality, the energy, the reality, the consciousness, right? The truth of who he is. And so there he was that day on the ground, rolling around and saying to himself, "Where's Zusha?" The same Zusha that you're wondering where, when I pass away, you'll wonder where that Zusha is. I'm wondering right now where that Zusha is. Am I really alive, or am I just biologically in existence? Am I really alive? Where is my life? Right? Am I firing on all cylinders, as it were? So that's the question that he asked. And so I want to segue from this story into, I think, a truth that we all recognize. And certainly anyone who has been around, unfortunately, Le'alenu, someone who has passed away, whether a friend or a loved one, a friend or relative, or any loved one, can attest to this, where one moment they're alive, and the next moment they're not alive, and really on a body level, it's hard to figure out what changed. I mean, the body, assuming there's no trauma to the body, right? The body is fully intact. They're there with all of the physical components. Still have the eyes, still have the ears, still have the brain is still there, the head is still, everything is still there, but there's no life. There's no life.
No, ever ready?
Yeah, there's no life. And this is the mystery of life. Like, what is life? This fleeting thing that we have, that we're gifted with for a certain amount of time, and no one knows how much time we individually have. No one is privy to that information. Only God knows exactly how much time we have. And the question is, and this question has, I don't know if the right word is bother, but it certainly has piqued the interest of many scientists, many a doctor, many a philosopher, many a Kabbalist, as to what is life. Because life is certainly not a body, because a body also exists after death. That body we wouldn't call alive, even though it exists. There's an actual physical body that exists in front of us, but that existence is not synonymous with life. There's life and there's existence. A body can exist. The question is the body alive? And I think what's very important is to recognize that a soul has a life force. Sorry, a body that's alive means that the body has a life force within it, that there's something that is pulsing through that body that constitutes its life, that animates it, that grants consciousness, that grants all of the various faculties that a human being has, that makes the body alive. Now, you want to call this the mystery of life, you can call this the mystery of consciousness, you can call this a soul. It doesn't matter what it's called, but here's what we know, that for a body to be alive, it's not so important the term that's used, because the honest truth is, if I say the word soul, I imagine that everyone listening has a different perception of what a soul is. And that perception is based on a lot of different things, including other encounters that you've encountered that word soul in other contexts. And thus it clouds the understanding and really what we're speaking of. So put away all of the labels, even forget the word soul. Life, let's talk about life. A body is be'etzem, is essentially dead. When I say that with all respect, but what I mean is the body itself doesn't power itself, because if it did, well, then what happens? That it unpowers itself. That doesn't make any sense. So rather what it means is, and this is a truth that we see in everything in existence. If you're wearing a watch, you know that it's powered by something, right? If there's anything that exists in our natural universe, we take as an absolute guarantee, we take it as 100% certain that something is powering that thing to be. We know with human life, the body itself is not life. The body is a body. A live person, a live body is not just a body that's moving around. There's a mystery, there's a secret of life inside of it. Yes, we call it a soul in English. Yes, in Hebrew, we call it a neshama, a soul. But the point is not what we call it. The point is what it is. What it is life. And we all know that when it comes to energy, when it comes to, I think energy is the right term. Without energy, that thing doesn't work. So, for example, a laptop, right, a computer, if it doesn't have any power inside of it, what's it going to do? We literally use the same term, die, right? We say, oh, my laptop died. It died? It disappeared? What happened? It went poof? No, still here.
Lost its neshama.
Doesn't work. It doesn't function. It's still here. It's still a hunk of metal and whatever, right? It doesn't work. The body is still here. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Why? It's missing the energy. Call it whatever you want. Today is not about labels. It's not about labels. People get hung up on labels. Oh, I don't believe in God. What do you believe in? Okay, that's also, I mean, like, a person takes to it, they don't believe in God, absolutely not. But when you get down to it, they believe that there's some, do you believe there's an energy that powers the world? Yes. What do you call that? Something else. Great. I'll call that God. It's fine. Let's agree to disagree. Doesn't matter what you call it, right? The point is, nothing, we know in our world, nothing functions without energy. Not a body, not a computer, not a toaster, not a refrigerator, not a microwave oven. Doesn't function if there's no energy. So I want to break this down and get very precise based on what it says in Kabbalah and Hasidic philosophy, and explore the concepts. And I'll tell you the concepts in Hebrew right off the bat. And I want to explore them from a human perspective. The concepts are called, there's two concepts, dual concepts, Memale Kol Almin and Sovev Kol Almin. Memale Kol Almin is the energy that fills the worlds. Sovev Kol Almin is the energy that transcends the worlds. And let me explain what that is. So imagine, let's use by way of analogy. Imagine you plug in, let's get a small appliance. You plug in you plug in your cell phone. Not an appliance, it's a small device, right? You take your cell phone. Oh, same thing. Oh, my phone died. You're on a phone call. Oh, the call up. You call the person back from a landline. Who has those? Oh, I'm so sorry. My cell phone died. I mean, died. What? It disappeared in your hand? But it started melting? No, it's still there. The screen is still there. The chip is still there. Microchips are still there. Everything is still there. What's missing? What's missing is energy, power. So what happens? So now you plug in. So let's talk about that energy for a second. So the way it works is that the charging brick, whatever that is, right? The charging piece, as well as the wire, is specifically, as well as the phone, is specifically conditioned to allow for a certain amount of electricity, energy, to come into the phone, to charge it at a specific rate, so that the battery inside can receive that energy, store it, and thus you can walk around without being stuck to the wall, because that is so
70.
no, not even
80.
80s, early 90s, whatever, right? That's who wants to be stuck to a wall while on a phone call. So we have this amazing thing. So the cell phone, you plug it in, it allows only the right amount, the precise amount of energy, right, to the cell phone, that it can charge it, it stores it in its battery. Now you're ready to roll. Good.
So comparing the cell phone to the soul, the cell phone loses its energy.
Yeah.
What happens with the soul?
Before we take the analogy too far, let me break it down further, and then we're going to get back to the specifics. So you got to plug it in. Why? Because the idea is that the cell phone itself is just the container. I mean, it just has chips, but it can't function without the energy. So it's got to have energy. How does it get energy? It needs to be plugged in. It gets energy, it stores it, and then as long as it still holds on to it, it has energy. When that dissipates, when it leaves, that energy leaves, it's dead. Great. Now, no one would say that the only energy in your house, let's just be more specific, the only electricity in your house is the one that's going into your phone. And that if you plug it into your phone, then nothing else is going to work. We've all been in houses like that, but right, let's just assume that this house is not like that. Right? We've all had that experience where you plug in the toaster and the microwave and this. That's it. We're done. We're finished. Finito. Yeah, it's like now you got to choose what you want to power. But assuming that's not the case, so you plug in your phone, it doesn't mean your lights are going to go out. It doesn't mean that your refrigerator stops working. It doesn't mean that your whatever, it doesn't function. Things are still working. Why? Because the electricity that's coming into your phone is not the totality of electricity that exists in the universe. Not even the totality that exists on your street. Not even the totality that exists in your own home. There's way more. There's way more. By the way, have any of us present, have you ever seen electricity? Ever seen it? What?
Tesla.
That's a coil. I'm saying, have you seen electricity?
Lightning.
Tesla.
That's the result of electricity.
That's how electricity shows up. I don't know if that is seeing electricity itself. Now, could be yes, could be no. But I would argue that we've never seen electricity, but we use it all the time. That doesn't hold anyone back from utilizing it. It's like, right? No one ever said, "Oh, I can't see it. I don't believe in electricity." Nope. I don't believe electricity is real, and I'm not going to use it, frankly. I mean, there are people that don't use electricity, but that's for other reasons, right? Right. But not seeing something doesn't constitute. Sorry, Dr. Maxwell, what were you saying?
I like Jews on Shabbos don't use electricity.
Correct. Yes, exactly. So there are plenty of situations in which we can all recognize that just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not real. Just because you use something doesn't mean you used all of it, right? There's still more.
Like oxygen.
Or let's say with electricity. Just because I'm plugging in my phone and my phone allows a steady, whatever drip of electricity to my phone that maximizes the rate of charge, but doesn't blow up my phone, because that would be awkward if I blew up my phone when I plugged it in. So because of that, right? I don't say that there's no other electricity in the world or in my home or whatever. No, there's more where that came from. So
are you going to discuss which source we plug into? Because as you just stated, if you don't have the right charger or you don't have the right connection, you either overheat and do blow up and burn out, Kash v'shalom, your phone, or you can't charge your phone because you don't have the right connection.
Right. Yes. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
That's called Goyim.
That's called no. So
They
listen.
don't have the right connection.
Nah. So here's the thing. I think when we talk about plugging in, I always think to like laptop chargers, because you have laptop chargers, and has anyone ever had to buy a replacement for a laptop charger? I did, like back in the day, you had like a dull laptop and like the charger,
I have three chargers.
the thing wore out because and you have to like, remember like sometimes you had to hold the computer and the wire at the right angle and then it would charge. But if you moved it up, it's out. And you didn't know that until it was too late. And then you were stuck. So, and then you had to buy a replacement. So you go on eBay. This is just, yeah, exactly. Right. So like,
Who are you kidding? You used to shop at Radio Shack.
Whatever it was. No, but you would buy a thing, you buy a replacement. And then it would be like, one second. Buy a replacement, but not every charger works to every computer, because sometimes you have to look at the numbers to make sure that. Then you had universal chargers. Oh, those are the best. Those were good. But sometimes you have very specific. So here's the thing. When it comes to the basic flow of life, the soul is naturally and inherently plugged in, which means that it's not like we have to jump through hoops to be plugged in, right? The soul is naturally plugged in and thus is drawing energy to itself from its source on high. That is by nature what's going on. At the same time, we believe that there's a way to get an extra dose of energy, but part of that is, following the analogy, broadening our ability to receive. So it's kind of like, imagine if you were able to expand the capacity of the device to receive a greater charge, be able to somehow like whatever on the hardware side or the software side, whatever, but on the hardware side, let's say, to expand the capacity of the batteries, then you could take a better charge, a bigger charge. Or maybe let's go to the example of a Tesla or whatever, electric vehicle that I'm not that familiar with exactly how they work. But I would imagine if you added more battery cells, it would be able to store more energy. You could drive for longer on a single charge. It would take longer to charge, but maybe also when you expand the battery technology, the batteries, not only are you adding more batteries, but maybe you can expand the ability of the batteries to take a greater charge faster in order to get a higher voltage or amperage or whatever the right terminology is, right? So you're expanding the capacity. So there is a way on our level, right? Because you asked like, what does that mean for us? So there is a natural drip charge that happens, i.e. life, the life force that's given to us, but there is a way to expand that and create a greater light. Every mitzvah that we do is an opportunity to expand both the kalim, our vessels, our battery packs, to expand it on our end, and also to pull more energy from above. That's literally the way we understand the blessing before every mitzvah. What do we say? Baruch atah Hashem. Well, what does Baruch mean? Now, in English, it's translated, everyone knows, as blessed, right? Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you, God, King of
Lord,
King of the earth, right? King of the universe, who has commanded us, sanctified with the mitzvah, and commanded us to do such and such. Great. That's Baruch, bless, right? Baruch, bless or blessed. What does that actually mean? So Chassidus and Kabbalah explain like this. What is Baruch? Baruch is related to the word. Well, there's a halachic term found in the Mishnah. Hamavrich et hagefen. Hamavrich et hagefen. And that means if you graft a vine, what that means is you take a vine shoot, right, and you graft it back into the base. Now, out of my league right now about exactly how that works, but my understanding is, from my brief perusal of YouTube videos with grafting, is you can cut off one stem and you can attach it to another and you can grow. Grafting is a big issue when it comes to esrogim, right? Esrog on Sukkot. There's a big issue.
What's the issue?
Grafted esrogim, because an esrog has a very weak constitution, as it were. Not country constitution, but it's innate. It takes a long time to develop, and then it dies after a very small amount of years. Whereas a lemon stalk is very strong. Lemons have a stronger constitution. So many a farmer has been tempted and has grafted an estrog with a lemon, do a little hybrid action, and then you produce a stronger estrog, right? An estrog for 20. This is the estrog we just observed in 2024. The problem is It's not kosher. So that's why we have to have, you're supposed to buy an estrog based on tradition, based on a very specific tradition. This is a kosher estrog orchard or whatever it is. But anyway, a mavrich as a geffen is a little bit different. It's not like you're cutting it in and grafting it in, but you're actually taking something that's growing and you're taking something that's pointing up and you put it down and you put it back into the ground. And it's for whatever reason that it's done, but you basically take what's higher and you bring it down lower. So mavrich is the idea of bringing something down. Hamshacha, bringing something down. Baruch atah Hashem, every blessing that we say, we are essentially acknowledging before we do the mitzvah, and we recite the blessing before a mitzvah, we're acknowledging that the goal is to bring down, and again, it's not like God is up or the energy is up, but spiritually, to bring down into our reality a greater energy than the energy that's already here. So this takes me back to the two terms, Memale Kolaman and Sovev Kolaman, which I think are very important. Memale Kolaman is as follows. There is an energy that fills all of reality with the exact measure of energy that the world needs. So again, going back to my cell phone example, the cell phone needs exactly its amount of energy. The refrigerator needs, I would imagine, more energy than does a cell phone, right? It's just the amount of flow that comes in at any given time, the amount of it just needs a different thing. A washer and dryer, I think, is even sometimes on a 240, right? Which is an even larger amount. The refrigerators are on 240, not 240. Okay, so then a washer dryer needs even more. And we all understand this. This all makes sense. No one questions it. Oh, what's going on? It all makes sense. For a thing to work in our homes, it needs to be powered. That's number one. No one says, well, why? No, I expect my refrigerator to work without any electricity. I expect it to work without being plugged in, just sitting there. It should be cooling things. How? Why? That's my expectation. Take your expectation and and do whatever you will with it. That's not going to happen. If it's going to work, right? If for a refrigerator to exist, it exists in a showroom. For it to function, it needs to be plugged in. Two different realities, right? You can go to Home Depot or Lowe's or Best Buy or whatever. I was saying Circuit City, but that's dating myself, right? You can go or Hi-Fi Buys. That's something else.
Oh,
you can
that's
go,
really old.
Yeah. So you can go to any of these places and you can see 30 refrigerators on display. Knock yourself out. They're not working. I mean, unless they're plugged in, right? If it's working, operating, it's plugged in. Washer and dryer. We're going washer, dryer, shopping, right? Do I want this one or that one? Whatever. It's not working in the showroom. Typically, it's not working. It's not plugged in. Does that mean it's having a puddle on the floor? No, it exists. It exists, but it's not alive, as it were. It exists, but it's not alive. It's not functioning. And for it to function, it needs energy. Everything that exists in order to function needs not only energy, but a specific type of energy. The cell phone needs this amount. The refrigerator needs this amount. Apparently, a washer dryer needs that amount. Everything, or the HVAC system needs, I guess, even more. Everything needs what it needs. If it has too little, it's not going to work. Too much, it's also not going to work. It needs exactly what it needs. There is an energy in this world that powers life. No one questions if the world is alive. You walk outside, the grass grows, birds are flying around, the sun, right, things are moving around the sky, clouds are floating. My kids now have this new thing, it's super cute. If they see a blue sky and a cloud that looks a little too good, they're like, it's AI. That's what they say. They go like, oh, that's AI. That's not real. So then I play along. I'm like, it's totally AI. I mean, look at how there's no way. Yeah, like right, exactly. Look, the text doesn't even read anything. Can't even read that thing.
That's even before they put the AI glasses on.
Oh yeah. No, this is all natural. Yeah, this is all organic. No, but it's just cute. Okay.
The ultimate AI.
Oh, so one second, but leave God out of it for a second. I'm kidding. But here's the thing. Everyone knows, no one challenges the fact that the world is teeming with life. I mean, go to your backyard, go to the front yard, whatever it is, go outside someone else's yard, dig a little bit. There's stuff in there. Plant a seed, it grows. There's life. The world is teeming with life. There's this energy in the world. Now, what is that energy? Because we all know, like with bodies, that just an actual physical thing is not alive. A body that no longer is alive is a dead body. It doesn't move. It doesn't grow. It doesn't function. It only atrophies. So one second. So what's going on with all that stuff? Why when I plant a seed, I had a little, or even put a little plant, and then I water it in the sun, it starts growing. What's going on with that? How is it alive? Wherein is that life? So here's the simple conclusion. Let's leave God out of it. Let's even leave the word soul out of it. Here's what we can safely say. The earth is alive. Earth, planet Earth, is alive. You can't question that. If life is defined by animation, by movement, by growth, the world is alive. It's not dead. We know what happens when something is dead. Dead means it's inert. It doesn't move. It doesn't grow. It doesn't function. The world functions. That means it's alive. And we know in our experience, that there is a mystery of life. There is something that drives life. There is always the container, and then there is the life that moves it. Like in the phone. The phone is dead, right? The phone, if it's out of energy, it's dead. It's basically a no, what do you call it? A paperweight. Thank you. They even call it. Oh, I bricked my device, right? Oh, I bricked my device. Somebody's hacking in their device. I bricked it. It's now a paperweight. I wonder if my warranty still works, right? That's what's going on. Bricking a device, turning it into a paperweight is what we call it when it physically is here. It's not that it's not here, but it doesn't do anything. Your phone dies, right? You're out somewhere. You're out at an event. You don't have a charger. Your phone dies. Guess what? You can't make a phone call. You know why? You have the phone. The numbers are inside. I don't actually know where the numbers are, but the numbers are.
You use it as a paperweight.
You can use it 100. You can use it as a paper. You can knock yourself out with it. No, not literally, but I mean,
You can do that too.
also literally. The point is that yes, it exists, but it's not functioning. The world doesn't just exist. The earth, right, look outside, right? The earth doesn't just exist, it functions, which means it's not just the container that's there, but there's also the energy inside. You can call the energy whatever you want. It doesn't matter what you call it, right? In Judaism, we call this God. In Kabbalah, we call this Mamale Kol Almin. Doesn't matter what words you use. The point is that there is an energy. Now, the energy that flows through the earth, there are two forms of the energy. One, and this is, I don't know which is more important, but the first one, the basic one is the energy that is specific to that thing. So I'll give you a very simple way of understanding this. Remember I told you that a phone, we all, I think, agree that a phone, when you plug in the phone into your wall, it probably draws less energy than does a refrigerator, which draws less energy than does a washer dryer, which draws less energy than an HVAC system, I guess, right? We can just assume that there's a continuum, various levels of energy that is drawing, that it needs to function and to work well. Great. The same thing is true in our world. The sun, straight up, the actual sun, probably has more energy than the single blade of grass. Can we safely assume that? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say yes. A single blade of grass. I don't mean the collective grass in all the world. No. That's way too elaborate. A single blade of grass is operating with less energy than the globe of the sun. That's a fair assumption to make. And I think that's accurate. The sun has way more energy, has way more energy than a single blade of grass. Now, a single blade of grass has less energy than a tree that's growing and has less energy than what else? I don't know, we can keep on going with this, but the point is everything that exists has a certain amount of energy that it needs to function, to be alive. Without that energy, it would be dead. Now, certain things work in a very easy way, easy breezy. Like it's easy to know when it's plugged in because it's literally plugged in. Other things are wireless, a little bit harder to figure out how they work. So a tree is plugged in. If you pull a tree or a plant out If you unplug it, literally, if you unplug it, it's dead. I mean, right? You take a chainsaw and you cut down a tree. Always say timber before. That's what I saw in the cartoons, right? Always say timber. That tree, that's not going to grow anymore. No more buds, no more flowers, no more peaches, no more whatever. That's it. It's dead. Great, because you unplugged it. You cut it from its source. Imagine you have a toaster oven and you cut the cord, literally cut the cord. I don't know if that's safe, but whatever, maybe. Well, no. But now I'm saying, let's say it's plugged in, right? No. Let's say it's plugged in. No.
I
Right?
think the handles of the scissor are plastic.
Yeah. So no, again, this is not, do not do this. Do not try this at home. I've also wanted to say that, right? It's plugged in, but you cut the cord. You literally cut the cord. Be safe. That's not gonna work.
The energy is transferred to you.
Well, yeah, in that case, yeah, the energy is transferred to the person.
Shout
No.
out Valerie real fast.
It's a little too much. By the way, I don't know, I'm about to like ask a question about medical devices. Maybe I shouldn't. Like pacemakers, how do they work? There's like an electrical battery. Okay.
There's a
but
battery.
No, but I'm saying the pacemaker, how it works with the person is that it's like an extra battery for the heart, right? Like for the heart, it adds like a little boost when you need it. I'm just saying everything needs everything needs energy. Whatever the right terminology is, electrical impulses, it's not important what we call it. It needs energy to exist. Even the human heart, you need energy. And if the for whatever reason it's not functioning like it should, then you need an extra boost. Here's my point. If certain things are obvious how they work, like a tree, plant, blade of grass, anything in the realm of tzomeach, of vegetation, it's clear. It's literally plugged into the ground. We call those roots or whatever it is. You sever that connection, you sever the cord, and it's dead. Immediately, it's dead, it's dying, it's not growing, it's out. It's out. You cut the plug, right? You pull the plug on it. You know, the other things I joked before, but I mean, seriously, are wireless. Animals, people, we walk around. We're not obviously, not visibly tethered, right? It's not like there's a cord coming out of us that's like somehow plugged in. So we seem to be able to roam and move in a fluid fashion and not be plugged in.
We're wireless.
That's what I'm saying. So we're wireless, right? On the one hand. On the other hand, we know this, that there is no such thing as a thing that powers itself. There is no such thing as a machine that doesn't need energy, that just somehow the actual physical substance of that thing powers itself. It's not a possibility. It's not a possibility. Sometimes we pretend like it is a possibility. Like everything else, like you ask this person if they're going to design a watch or design a car, well, how's it going to work? And they'll concede that you need an energy source. But ask them how people work. Like, oh, just people exist. Oh, the world just exists. I mean, that's a little bit inconsistent because in truth, everything needs energy to exist and the energy is coming from somewhere. That is just the way things are. The way things are is that everything needs energy to exist. So getting back to the blade of grass, the tree, the volcano that's spewing, the sun, they all have different degrees of energy, of life that's flowing through it. Right? Smaller, larger, different dimensions, different sizes. We call this in Hasidic language, in mystical parlance, in Kabbalistic terminology, memale kol almin. It's the energy of God that is memale, mile. It fills the world. It fills reality, which means it's the type of energy that is tailored to the specific thing that is being energized, that is being animated. And so therefore, it's the precise amount of energy for that specific item. So we would say in a home, right, the way the electricity flows through every appliance or every device is in a way of memale kol almin. It operates in a very internal way, the right amount of electricity into the phone, the right amount into the refrigerator, the right amount into the washer dryer, the right amount into the HVAC system. Everything has its own specific amount, and it's tailored for that, for the mekabel, for the recipient. Every recipient has its needs, and it's being provided perfectly tailored according to its needs. Again, if the same energy went into your phone when you plugged it in as to the washer dryer, it simply wouldn't work. It would blow. It would just be too much energy for the recipient. So everything is tailored. That's the way it works. Everything is tailored.
You related to like high and to Tomach, to the living in the nature and the growth. What about the domain? What about like a rock? Something that doesn't exist, but
Right.
literally don't see any growth or any change.
So that is asking, what about a rock that doesn't overtly grow or change or move? And so we would say that sounds like it's not alive in this definition that we're giving of life. If the difference between existence and life is that life is movement, animation, right? Something moving or energy. So then a rock might exist, but it's not alive. That's your question.
Hold those atoms together.
Right.
They have energy.
Right. So we would say, good. So what one angle on this is to say that the very fact that it exists, that it doesn't just collapse in on itself, that it exists in a structure, that itself is born of an energy that's holding it together. In other words, the energy is manifest, not in its blinking its eyes or otherwise functioning, but it exists in the experience of existence itself. In other words, the existence, yeah.
I was going to ask you, and crystals will have more energy than rock.
Crystals store energy because of the configuration.
Yeah, which is fascinating because literally, and we've spoken of this so many times, that Kabbalah emphasizes many occasions that rocks and stones, right, things that we would think are not alive, are very much alive, have a soul, but it's a different type of soul. You're right. And that's why I have to be careful because I'm presenting this idea, and I don't want to give the false impression that only things that move are alive, because in truth, even the things that don't move are alive. So for example, if I go back to my original example, even a body that's no longer alive because the person has passed away, which means that there's just now a body in front of us, there is still a level of life there. The fact that it exists is also a sign of some level of life, but it's not the level of life that we would say is human life, which is by definition, we call human life the life that is in animation and consciousness as a human exists, typically, as a human is alive. But there is still a body. So it's interesting the way Kabbalah explains that the life force of the person is gone, but there's another life force of the body itself that is still there. But I kind of have to revert to the language of Kabbalah. When the neshama, when the soul departs from the body, the nefesh of the body also begins to dissipate. In other words, the soul of the body that keeps the cells or whatever, the atomic stuff together, right? That on that very basic existential level, when the soul departs, that also begins slowly fading as well, which is why the body slowly decomposes.
What's nefesh?
Nefesh is also translated as soul. Good question. Nefesh is also translated as soul, but it's a less sophisticated level. So when we talk about life for a human being, the fact that we can see, that our minds work, that we can communicate, all those are higher level functions than the fact that there's substance here. That's basic. This is more complicated, more complex. The brain is way more complex. The heart is way more complex. We say like this: the neshama is symbolic of this higher level activity, whereas nefesh is biologically existing. Like
I thought nefesh was flesh.
No, not nefesh flesh. No, but it means basic life, not animation life where it's talking, moving, whatever, but basic existential, basic existence life. So that's why the Ari Sollish says, the great Kabbalist, Rabbi Isaac Luria says that an even domain, a stone that has what? Not a neshama, has a nefesh. Nefesh is the level that of basic form and structure. And I would say within that level, there are more sophisticated nefesh, less sophisticated nefesh. So a crude stone versus a crystal, you would have different levels of nefesh. And then you would have different types of higher level souls for plants that grow, for animals that roam, and for human beings that think and communicate, are creative. So you would have different levels. The point is like this, that nothing exists, nothing functions without energy.
You would
So we would say that crystals have universal mass force energy.
Right.
A very different two states.
These are electrical,
Interesting.
Because
that's why granite and stuff like that have some energy too. They can
Nice.
affect it.
we're not stone like quartz,
Right.
They want
Nice.
to talk.
Same concept would translate to a chair, a table, and a building.
On a basic
Yes.
level, yeah, a stone has a nefesh, has energy within it, even though the chair is not moving on its own. It's not eating, it's not growing, it's inert. The fact that it exists in a solid structure form, the fact that it exists in any form, means that it has an existential type of energy. Now, that is, if we were trying to measure bandwidth of energy, we would probably say that this type of soul, in other words, the fact that it just exists, is of a lower bandwidth than the energy that would make it animate also. Like, that would make it grow. Like, wow, that would require a little bit more. To just keep it alive, or sorry, to keep it in existence requires X amount of energy. To make it move and dance, a little bit more. To make it think, a little bit more, right? So everything needs a little bit more, depending on what we're talking about. There you go. Yeah, similar. Nefesh is the basic physicality, i.e. existence of a person. Good. Even Google knows.
Right.
So if you think, for example,
But Google also says nefesh is soul, so I skipped over that.
No, because the English does. That's what I said before.
Right.
The English doesn't make a difference what you call it. You want to call it energy, you want to call it vibrations, you want to call it soul. It's all language. It's not. Kabbalah doesn't speak of terminology. It speaks of concepts, and that's right. Yeah.
So if you take, for example, the Maharal from Prague,
Yeah.
he took the golem, he basically took dirt, which has the lowest probably or some low form of nefesh,
Correct.
and infuse it with more nefesh, so it was actually.
Yeah, the
It
idea.
didn't
So
have a neshama, but it had
Right,
maybe
so-
a bigger nefesh.
but that is asking about the golem of Prague.
The golem didn't have nefesh?
No.
You just
you amped up, or probably you introduce another layer of energy into it. That's what happens.
Somebody pushes it, goes downhill. It's creating energy.
That's interesting. That's where gravity comes in. That's an external. Interesting. Look, I don't know that we're going to solve all the questions. How does, a snowball effect, where that, but here's the point. That's right. I always joke that when you drive on the highway and you see this sign that says falling rock, was there only one rock? Why don't you say falling rocks? I've never seen that pluralized. It should be pluralized. It's not the same rock. It's like, no one's picking it back up and putting it back on top. All right, it fell. Let's put it back for the next car. Like, that's not a thing, right? Falling rocks. Anyway, the point is
It does say
that
rock.
there is the ones that I've seen say rock, but whatever. Could.
And I don't know what he wants to do about it anyway.
I know.
By the time you see it.
Am I yeah.
Or
Too
what about-
late.
What about
Oops.
deer crossing,
It is what it is. Okay, but getting back to the point, because I want to make sure that we get through Silver Column and also, and we'll do this quickly. So everything in existence has an energy flow that powers it, because otherwise it wouldn't exist, it wouldn't function, it wouldn't be animated. So everything that exists. By the way, I think that the important thing that comes out now is when you have the refrigerator. This I didn't really want to get this. I didn't mention this before because I thought it might be confusing, but we've already mentioned it. When you walk into the showroom and see the refrigerator and it's not plugged in and it's not functioning, it's not. So I said before, it's not alive, right? It just exists, it's not alive. It's also alive. Fact that it's there, the fact that it exists means that it has a nefesh. It has a soul. Well, again, soul is just a word. It has a nefesh inside of it that is keeping it in existence so long as it exists. And by the way, the implication of this is that God has given us the power to manipulate nefesh on some level, because you and I can take a piece of wood, right, and cut it and carve it, and we can hammer it together and create a bench, or create a chair, or create a table. And so, one second.
Is that another class you're giving?
So how to make it woodworking? No, not at all. But here's my point. The point is that now there's a table. Well, that table didn't exist before. There was just a bunch of lumber. But now there's a table. Oh, 1 second. Does the table have a nefesh? 100%. Who gave the table the nefesh? Now, you could say that the wood already had a nefesh, and all you did was reassemble, put it together in other pieces. And that's probably true how it works. But the cool thing is that it's almost like Legos, like we've been given the power by God to kind of rearrange on that level of nefesh. We don't yet have the power, other than the Maharal of Prague, who used Sefer Yetzirah, literally the book of formation, to create this. We don't have the power to imbue life. When I say that, yes, we can take a seed and plant it into the ground, but that is because there's an energy. That life is the energy around us, and that is functioning on that level, which means that we don't typically have that ability to create that. We scratch. That's where God comes in this metric. But I want to kind of come full circle with this. So Memale Kol Almin is the energy within existence that is tailored specifically for that thing. The blade of the stone is different than the blade of grass, which is different than the tree, which is different than the volcano, which is different than the sun itself. Everything is different, and everything has its own measurement of energy and vitality and life. Great. And then we continue the meditation. All of this is a meditation, things to think about. Continue the meditation. I didn't take you on a meditation walking down a green meadow and noticing, the sunset. But what I am is walking you through a conceptual meditation. Then you think about one more thing. One second. All of this energy, think about even your house. Start with your house. I can plug in my cell phone. I can plug in the toaster. I can plug in the oven. I can plug in the washer dryer. I have the HVAC system that's, I guess, also connected, plugged in, whatever. All of these things are plugged in. The energy that's flowing through my house or through the street or through the city is way bigger than any one of these things. In other words, it's not like the only energy is the energy in my phone or in my this. There's a larger reality of energy that I am drawing from for this specific item. But the source is larger than the specific. The source is grand. There's a ton of energy there. And I realized, wait a second, that's really where the energy is. It's not just the little amount that flows, that drips into my phone. The real source, the real energy is in the source. And in the source's source, because I can say the source is the line that comes into my house, but that's not the source. The source is the thing in the, that's not the source. Go back to the power plant itself. But where does the power plant get it from? And the truth is, at some point, I'm going to hit a wall because I actually don't know. But wherever that comes from, right? Let's say the power plant gets it from, where does energy in the power plant come from?
Coal. Or atomic energy.
Where does that come from? And I know what's going to happen. At least for me. We're going to hit a wall and say, I don't know. Well, the energy was just there. And we discovered how to take the energy out, but it was just sitting there.
It all goes from source.
That's what I'm saying. So what is source? We don't know. Mystery. Now we call it God, but some people would, oh, God, I don't believe in God, because they just bristle at the word. It's a word thing. But the concept that there is source from which everything else flows, that's something magnificent, which means that the thing, every little thing is alive, but it's drawing from a collective body of energy that draws from a larger body of energy, larger. But if you keep on going back, where does it start from? It starts from this larger source with a capital S of energy that is all energy, that is all life, that is infinite because it can power infinite number of things. Think about the amount of electricity that is flowing through the universe at any given moment. When I say electricity, think about the number of things that are alive, that are pulsing, vibrating with energy. And I don't just mean cell phones, although there are millions of cell phones right now that were plugged in last night. What I mean is, think about every blade of grass, every person, everything that exists. Think about not only the things that are animated in a visible way, but think about the things that just simply exist in a domain fashion, all the stones, all the earth, every single crumb, every single grain of sand on the beach, every ocean. Think about everything that's alive. And then think about how its existence and its life and its animation, whether you see it or not, it's all being powered by life. And where is that life coming from? Ultimately, it's coming from source. And that source is unlimited, is absolutely infinite. Because you know what? If it was limited, we would have run out by now. It would have for sure run out. It's not running out because it is an infinite source with a capital S of life, of energy. That's what we call Sovev Kol Almin. Sovev Kol Almin is the energy of God that transcends Memale Kol Almin. Memale Kol Almin is the specific energy that the blade of grass gets. Sovev Kol Almin is the energy at the source. We call that transcendent. Transcendent in the sense that it's not limited by your capacity. It's unlimited by the source's ability.
What's it called? Sorry.
Sovev, S-O-V-E-V. Sovev Kol Almin. It's the energy that transcends all of the world. Kol Almin, like Olam, but it's Aramaic because it's from Aramaic sources.
So S-O-V-E-V-E.
S-O-V-E-V, Sovev, right? Surround, transcending. Kol, like K-O-L, Almin, A-L-M-I-N, Almin. Sovev Kol Almin. And it's an Aramaic turn of phrase. Sovev Kol Almin is the source. The source is not, it's not individuated. The source is not like, oh, I have only this amount of energy. No, the source is infinite. The source is transcendent. The source doesn't operate on a blade of grass level. The source is, I got all the energy. I got too much energy to use. I have infinite energy. From there flows Memale Kol Almin. All of this is the meditation. You think about how you exist and how you're alive. Think about how you woke up this morning. Not as a, thank God, Baruch Hashem, not as a corpse, not as a body that doesn't move. You woke up as a live being, which means that you not only have basic physical existence, but you also have human animation. You are alive. Your brain is functioning. Your eyes are working, please God. Your ears are working, right? Your mouth is working. Your nose is working, right? All of your senses are functioning. Your heart is beating, right? Your brain is sending electrical impulses throughout your body. Your nervous system, your nerves, your lungs are working. Your kidneys are functioning. Your toes, you can wiggle your toes. Everything is moving. Everything is functioning. And you think about that 1 second. I'm alive. Where is that life coming from? What is that life? Is it just a body? No. Reb Zusha said, you'll see me one day on the ground. You say, where's Zusha? But I'm right here, but I'm not there because there's no life. Existence, but no life. We woke up this morning. All of us are sitting here today or standing here today, whichever position you're in, you are alive. And what that means is there is an energy flowing through you. So step one is to realize I have life. And the life within me is not the life within you because it's in me and it's not in you. And the life in you is not the life in me. We each have our own plug. We're each plugged into the source. And then you take it a step further and you say, 1 second. That's not only me that's plugged in and you that's plugged in. Everything is plugged in. The fish is plugged in. The bird is plugged in. The grass is plugged in. The sun is plugged in. The volcano is plugged in. Everything is plugged. The river is plugged in. The ocean. Everything is attached. Everything is getting a flow. But it's not only that. It's not only that everything has a flow. There's a source from which all of the flows come from. And that source is grander and greater and transcendent and infinite and can power everything that ever was, is, or will be. Memale and Sovev. So I ask you, do you see God? Person says, I never saw God. But I'll ask you again, have you seen God? The answer is yes. Depends on how you call God or what you call God. But if God is life, is energy, is power, I don't mean power like dominion, but is life itself, then have you and I seen God? You and I saw God when we looked in the mirror this morning. You saw God. You feel God from the inside out. This is the meaning of one of the greatest verses that is cited in Kabbalah. We're not going to read it inside. I know I have the copies there. We're not going to read it inside. There is a fantastic verse, and it comes from Job 19:26. The book of Job, the book of Eov, is a book of suffering, a human being that suffers tremendously. But chapter 19 of the book of Job, verse 26, he says the following, Umi b'sari echze Eloka. He says, from my flesh I see God. The simple meaning is a person who would say, from where I stand, I perceive God. I see God from where I am. Comes along the mystics, the Kabbalists, and they say, no, that's not what it means. Way deeper than that. Umi b'sari echze Eloka doesn't just mean from where I stand, I can see God. That's basic. What it really means is, by looking at my own flesh, from my own flesh, by looking at my own biology, how I work, my own life, I can perceive God. I can see God inside of me. What does that mean? My own existence, how my own energy operates within my own body, how my own, let's call it soul now, how my own soul operates within my own body, how my soul powers not just my brain, but also my fingernails, how my soul powers my legs and my toes and my arms and my kidneys and my whatever, my lungs. My soul powers everything on its own. Sorry, on its level. At the same time, the soul is larger than any specific animation that it is causing. Just like I see how this is true within myself, I recognize that this is true with the larger world, because what exists in the smaller world, which is Adam, which is the person, the microcosm exists in the Olam Gadol, the macrocosm of our creation. And so again, I ask, do you see God? Have you seen God? And the answer is yes. God is not some sort of supernatural vision of something that we couldn't imagine. And if you saw that, you probably wouldn't even know what it was anyway. The greatest vision of God that a human being can have is to see God flowing through us, flowing through the world around us, because that is nothing but God. And yes, I know that a lot of people would say, I haven't seen God, I don't believe in God. All of that is believing in a God that the person is not understanding, believing in it, not believing in a God that is misunderstood. The concept that we're sharing today is the idea that God is the energy, is the flow of life of this world. And if you don't want to call it God, that's fine also. Do you believe in life? Have you seen life? Have you seen vitality? Have you seen existence? I'm sure we can all say yes. Well, then you've seen God. The mystics say. You don't need a proof. You don't need a philosophical treatise. You don't need some sort of mystical textbook either. All you need to do is look at your own life and look at the world around you. And you can see literally the flow of God everywhere. That is the meditation for today. That is how we see God. Next week, we're going to tie it into our text and the prayer of the Shema and talk about how the Shema is really about bringing us to this heightened state of awareness where we literally feel at any moment, at every moment, we literally feel the energy pulsing through us and around us, recognizing that that is God. Hashem Echad, God is one with us. God is one with everything around us. And that is the key, the heart and soul of prayer. So for this week, we'll just wrap up and then we'll get the questions. So for this week, here's the homework, spiritual homework. Take some time. Life is busy. Take some time to pause. Take some time to clear out the noise and to think about what it means to be alive, what it means that the things around you are alive, or even the fact that they exist. And think about the fact that nothing exists without energy, because we know that. No one created a car that just works because it does. Everything needs energy. We know that, we take that for granted. Suddenly with the world, we're like, maybe the world just exists on its own, but it doesn't. Everything needs energy. And recognize that that energy is coming from a source greater than all of us. And that is a source that ultimately wants a relationship with each one of us, which we haven't developed today, but that's ultimately the big idea of Judaism. Not only is there this source or this energy, but that it wants a relationship, a personal relationship with us. And we achieve that by the goodness that we do. So this week, let's pay more attention and let's have that heightened awareness. Thank you and let's see God. Thank you very much for joining me this morning.
Thank you. Beautiful class.
Thank you.
I was expecting to see God.
Well, you did.
Well,
Well,
simple.
you-
This is God.
Well,
Everything, every ounce of knowledge in the world is in here.
sure. You can say that God is there, but to say that that is God means that you're reducing God to just that, which you can't. Right? So God is everywhere, including that, sure. But to say this is God, that would be too limiting, too specific.
So is the logical conclusion of all this, because I'm obsessed with the terrorism lately, that terrorists are powered by energy that's God also.
Everything is powered by God, good, bad, or ugly. That creates the question of how does evil exist? How does evil exist? If you don't have this radical philosophy, you don't have the question. In other words, how does evil exist? I don't know, because why shouldn't it? Anything can exist, including evil, including absence of goodness. But when you realize that Hashem Echad, that God is powering everything, that now the question really begins. So 1 second. So who's powering terror? Who's powering evil? Who's powering pain and suffering? Now you're like, well, 1 second. Now it's getting a little crazy. This is where we have the question. It's like what the Rebbe answered somebody after the Holocaust, where he said, I can't believe in God after the Holocaust. I'm so outraged with the Holocaust. How could I believe in God? And the Rebbe's response was, by your very question, you're indicating that you do believe in God. Because if you didn't believe in God, you wouldn't be bothered by the existence of evil.
But we
Because
can see how good God is.
1 second. Well, no. At the same time, we also say that God's ways are inscrutable. We can't understand God. And I understand that sounds like a cop-out, but the truth is that again, I'm just quoting a letter that I saw from the Rebbe. The Rebbe writes, if you don't believe in God, then what's the question? What is the question that why do the strong dominate the weak, or why are some people turn to evil? Why? Because they did. What? It's because we believe in a good God that we do have the question. So the fact that we're bothered by the question is the greatest indication that we do believe. That doesn't satisfy the heart, but that's just the truth. I think that Judaism takes the more radical approach, and because of that, we do have some very big questions, including that question. This belief system doesn't help the question; it enhances the question. But because it enhances the question, I feel that it's more real. Yeah.
I met this man, Rabbi Nu, and I met that man
Nice.
at Sheba Hospital.
Oh, wow.
He was the head of agriculture at the Kibbutz Bari. And on October 7th, he was in his shelter, and he was telling us how he had to physically hold the door closed because there are no locks on the bomb shelters. He was there with his wife and 2 children. They shot through the door. He lost his leg, as you could see in the picture.
Wow.
Unfortunately, he lost his wife and his son as well. It was just left him and his daughter. But we were sitting there talking about to him, and it's like, this is firsthand. I mean, this is eyewitness. And he's standing there and he's telling Rabbi Nu and I that he doesn't believe in God. And that bothered me for a couple of days. It kept bouncing around in my head in Yerushalayim that this guy's telling me he doesn't believe in God. But he went so much out of his way to say how much he doesn't believe in God that it occurred to me 2 days later.
It's a little suspicious, huh?
He does believe in God. He's just denying it.
Right.
But he clearly believes in God by the virtue of him saying that he doesn't believe. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, because maybe he used to, but now he
It doesn't matter.
I
If you
also
don't believe in God, you don't even talk about it.
I also think there's something I not to repeat myself too much today, but like I think that people get caught up in language, and when they say they don't believe in God, they mean something very specific that may or may not be what Judaism believes anyway. It's like the famous story from Rabbi Levi Zoberditchev, who was a contemporary of Reb Zusha and Rabbi Elimelech that we spoke about today, and the Alter Rebbe. And he said to somebody who he met, and the guy told him he doesn't believe in God. He said the following: the same God you don't believe in, I also don't believe in, right? You say you don't believe in God, I also don't believe in that God. There's this Judaism, and certainly Kabbalah and Chassidus portray a very specific understanding of God, and I think it's a type of God that makes a lot of sense.
Oh, it's very much
This is
the
President Waltz.
New Age
AOC
movement
and
is
Ishaq.
very much aligned.
This
to
is
what
the other
Kabbalists
JD Van.
And
Which was
it's a
see them
new
in
way
at the hotel.
of young children who have been born at this time to spread this message, which is an ancient message, but that people weren't
Ready.
Yeah, I don't want to. We're able.
Yeah.
I get that.
And that's what the New Age movement called indigo children. or whatever word they wish to use. You know, you just see kids now that just accept it, you know, that they're nicer, they're all connected, you know, and this is a new
consciousness that's
new-
almost filling reality.
and astrologically a new age.
Interesting.
So can I ask a question? This is good.
It's fantastic.
No dark energy.
No.
All positive light.
All positive.
You cannot have something that starts with Tanya
What's the joke?
that is bad energy.
Right here.
Bad energy does not exist in Kabbalah.
I do not know enough about it.
What's that?
I don't
Yeah, it's
could
good.
you read this to me? I got it from Israel. It's very pretty. They're only very cheap, but do you know what the back says?
Oh wow, this is beautiful.
Okay.
This is beautiful.
What's that?
This is Tfilat Haderach.
Can I write that
This
down?
this is the prayer that one recites when taking a journey.
Hold on. What's it called? Sorry.
Tfilat
Yeah.
Haderach, Haderec. So you can, if you type that into Google, you'll find the translation. It basically is a blessing and a prayer that a person recites when traveling, asking God that the journey be safe, successful, and peaceful, and safe. No listim, no robbers,
There's also
no
something
chayot
about
ra'ot,
there,
no
miss-
animals.
No missed planes, no canceled flights.
That's the updated version. I always recite this when I'm flying
Right.
on the
Spirit, especially.
spirit. No, but the name like spirit. No, but on the as you're on the runway, kind of getting. The Rebbe once said that when you're flying, when
You're
you,
taxiing down the runway?
yes. Well, as the engines rev up, yes, and you're about
How much for you said on the way to the airport?
to the airport.
Yeah, on
Really?
the road to the airport,
Ah,
because that's when the travel begins.
interesting. I never heard that one. I always do it on the runway when we take a road trip. So if you're just driving around the city and whatever, that wouldn't be costly. It's more of like if you're going out of town.
Yeah.
And then we typically do it. Our family does it when we hit the highway.
Yeah.
So like if you're driving and here there's a bit of a schlep to get to the highway, but if when you're still on Glenridge Connect or whatever it is, like that's not that point. But when you hit the highway, you're good to go, right? It's like, all right, kids, let's recite this word by word. But this is beautiful. It's also, there were some great tzaddikim, holy people, who would recite this every day. This is not the accepted custom, but some would recite it every day. And the rationale was that every day we're on a journey. We're journeying every day and we're asking God's protection, for every day of our lives. So certainly, if not to recite it, but to keep it with you, certainly a very special,
And I've ordered more, so if you wish for that one, they're not even expensive.
Nice.
I gave one to Judith and
Nice.
Because they're very beautiful.
Yeah.
I think, and they're nothing else.
that too.
Yes, yeah. And which bit of this is good to read?
I'll show you which part to read. So in the text, and I know we didn't bring it up because we didn't read inside. The text is right here on page 34.
Yeah.
You see where it has the three dots? So this section until, you could do this whole piece from here to here, that page, 34 into 36. Yeah.
Can I ask? Is there any chance of me sitting in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which should I sit?
I'll tell you in a second. We'll close out and then, Good.
Excuse me.
Sure.
I've been trying to say this the whole time.
Oh.
This goes to the class.
Right.
Okay, so basically we are all systems, whether biological systems, all the others, and we're all anatomically linked because we're all made up of atoms. You've got a painting out there done by Hendel Butterfass, which is, I got that one at home, which is the Aleph-Bet before creation. So everything's floating around, just like the Big Bang Theory. You had all of us, all our elemental stuff was part of one. God was the ignition wire.
Nice. Love that. Thank you. I had to check that painting. Where is it? In the You knew Hendel a little bit? Hendel Futterbest?
Actually.
Wow. He's a legend. He's a legend.
Look at how everything eventually is going to come out.
Oh, hold on. So let me look at this, but let me officially close out and then I'll take a look at this because I want to learn more about what that is. Okay, Dr. Maxey, great to see you. Always great to see you. Frank, great to see you. Man, love seeing you every week. Jacqueline, welcome. Lisa, good to
Jake
see you.
Queller.
And who is
It's
I'm
not Jacqueline,
not
it's
sure
Jake
that-
Queller. Hey,
All right.
Aaron.
Good to see you guys. Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.
Take care.